Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the meeting of the Georges River Planning Panel for Thursday, 15th of February 2024. My name is Sue Francis and I'm the chair of this panel, and we're currently streaming from the Georges River Council offices in McMahon Street, Hurstville. Now today the panel is made up of Deborah Laidlaw, expert panel member, Paul Vagotis, expert panel member, and Cameron Jones, being the community representative on this panel. And we're the panel who've been appointed by the Minister for Planning to determine the specified applications on this agenda. I'd like to start by acknowledging the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all land, waters and sky in the Georges River area. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. I'm required to advise you that under the provisions of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, this meeting is being live streamed and will be available on Council's website. In accordance with the revised meeting protocols, interested parties wishing to make representations to the panel were requested to register a summary of their interests. And we have 7 registrations, and they are as follows. I have 4 speakers in relation to 46A Russell Street, Oatley. They are Alana Singleton, who's via Teams meeting, and then I have Stuart Palmer, Jane Palmer and Mark Phillips, who are in person in the chambers. I then have a representative in relation to 31 Ocean Street, and that is Dave Moody, who'll be coming in via Teams meeting. I have Gillian Snade in relation to 2 to 10 Palmerston Street, Cogra, via Teams meeting, and then I have also Andrew Nicole via Teams for that same matter. All in relation to disclosures of interest, as required by the local planning panel code of conduct, members are required to disclose any conflicts of interest, and the relevant forms have been completed prior to this meeting and will be online. Now, Cameron Jones has declared an interest in relation to LPP 001-24 being the item of 46A Russell Street, Oatley, and he will leave the chamber before we go to that item, and will not will not take any part in discussions or any deliberations on that particular matter. We have 5 assessment reports on the agenda tonight, and we've undertaken inspections. The panel has undertaken inspections this afternoon, and we will deal with them in order, and I'll just run you through the order so that you can be ready and waiting if you're online to know when you might be coming in. So the first item is 46A Russell Street, Oatley. The second is 31 Ocean Street, Penshurst. The third is 2 to 12 Lime Kiln Road, Lugano. Then we have 198 to 200 Princess Highway, Cogra, and then we have 2 to 10 Palmerston Street, Cogra. As we progress through the matters on the agenda, only those persons who've registered to speak, and I've mentioned those, will be allowed to make any representations. Each person registered has 3 minutes, and I'll ask those persons who are invited to speak via Teams to speak clearly and of a volume that people can actually hear. Make sure their volume is turned up on their individual computers and team systems. I also remind everyone that any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive language used may result in the author being exposed to liability for which council and the panel takes no responsibility. Now, once we've heard from all the oral submissions, and in particular on any particular application, we'll move to the next one. So we're not going to be making any decisions on each item as we go through. We'll hear all the matters and then we'll close the meeting, and then we'll make our deliberations and decisions. And those decisions will be available on council's website once confirmed, and usually within 2 to 3 days of this meeting. So let's start. The first item, as I've said, is where's my speaking list? Is 46A Russell Street, Oatley. and yeah, that is for alterations and additions to a dwelling house. And now the first person on my list to speak is actually Alana Singleton online. Do we have Alana, Council? We do.
Yes, good afternoon.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Alana. So the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge and thank the panel for attending the site today. I hope that it'll be able to contextualise my two main speaking points today. They surround the significant lack of landscaping still within the proposed modification for the proposed site, being only 12.6%, which of course is significantly less than the 25% required within the foreshore. This was highlighted by the applicants, Mr. and Mrs. Palmer, in other neighbouring submissions, with a requirement of other properties to increase from 22% to meet the 25%, yet they're now asking to be exempt from this by only complying with a 12.6% landscaped area, even though neighbouring properties on the foreshore have been required recently to meet that 25%. So the landscaping and the effect that that has on the foreshore, looking at the property, especially even things by Google Maps, you can see that it is one of the only properties that does not have any landscaping within the foreshore area, which means it's quite bulky and unsightly from the water and on the foreshore, which goes against the main aims. The second is a safety issue that I'd like to raise, and it's in relation to site access and traffic management. As the panel would have seen by visiting site today, this property is accessed by 3 different premises, and the front of the premises is accessed and has access to a 4th neighbour. We're really restricted in the access just for residential vehicles, let alone construction vehicles, and the turning points are very slim down the bottom. If they are blocked, it causes a significant safety issue to neighbouring properties, and if there is to be an approval of this development, we would insist that there is a traffic and construction management plan created in consultation with the neighbours that adjoin this development property. And you would have seen the panel today, the limited access and the ability for 46A to completely block the access of our property at 48. I don't know how long that took, but they're the summaries of the raise.
Thank you very much. That's fine. Panel members, any questions? Deborah?
Just a quick one. When you say you don't want the access blocked, you're referring to the driveway, not the area immediately in front of the garage of 46A, or can you just clarify exactly what area you're referring to?
Yeah, so it is the entire area. Of concern to us mostly, there is a right of carriageway that sits looking at the property to the far right. I did submit photos of a small works completed by the applicants, just I believe for a small renovation of a bathroom, where they placed a skip bin in that right of carriageway. So you can imagine our concerns with a large scale renovation like this, that if that access is blocked, we actually have no way of getting our vehicles out, and especially if there ever is an emergency, it becomes a significant issue if that area is blocked, but also if large trucks are down there. It's a very small turning area for them to be able to safely get out.
So your understanding is the right of carriageway goes up to the front of the garage door, basically, is that it?
Yeah, they've actually lined out where their property boundary. So I don't know whether there's any more images, but you should see to the far right, there is that right of carriageway that allows us to turn our vehicles to safely exit the driveway moving forward, rather than the dangerous activity of someone having to reverse up a driveway such as ours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No further questions, so we'll go to the next speakers. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for your time.
So next speakers are in the room, so would you like to come forward? Thank you. And perhaps the first thing we might want to clarify is exactly where the easement is now. You might see that we actually have what we think is the easement here. So I'd like some clarification.
Press to speak. Okay. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to chat about this application. We've obviously worked pretty closely with council over the last year on this. It's been through 4 different planners' hands. We'd like to thank Declan, who's pulled it together at the end, which has been great. Worked closely with him. My clients have made quite a compromise, a significant compromise on the initial design to pull it all back behind, completely back behind the foreshore building line, which I believe is these guys have given a lot to be able to achieve that in floor space ratio. That has the desired effect of reducing the bulk as well as the impact on the waterway. So I think the major non-compliances that we have are basically an eave that sits over the basement. So that's a technical non-compliance with what would be deemed the new natural ground. But if you took on the side elevation, you can see that it's well below any of the height limits if it was a new build. So yeah, now if you wanted to have a bit of a look at so I'm going to jump to what we wanted to try and address today, if that's possible. We'd like to discuss the condition 12 that's been added in. That was added in at the last minute after a lot of negotiation with Declan. That one just snuck in at the end, which is about reducing the windows to the water view from the main bedroom. So I guess there's 3 points in condition 12. One is reducing I guess the amount of windows to the water, which I think is a pity. And they talk about verticality and horizontality of it. Now, if we have a look at the side elevation or a section, the section shows that our top floor is set back over 10 metres from those lower 2 floors. So that would be on the section sheet, you can see that. So I really doubt you're ever going to be looking at this elevation as you do on, say, sheet 9. If we could pull up sheet 9 and have a look at the elevation that you see from the water. Like obviously when we draw the flat elevations, it looks like that top level is red there. But in reality, that's set so far back. And that elevation also shows that there are no exact proportions of those windows. They talk about having proportions that are similar. The bottom level are sliding doors that are probably 1 metre or over 1 metre wide. Then the next level up are bifold doors at 750, which big thick frames on them. So it's not like there's an architectural language that we're trying to match here. So I guess what I'm asking here is we'd like condition 12, both A and B removed. One is because as we've also designed this, we have no absolute mineral windows facing the north elevation to ensure the privacy is kept to the adjoining residences. So we're gaining our light and our view towards the water that has no privacy impacts with the neighbours. I also doubt that there's going to be any major impact on the waterway from that. I think they were the main points on condition 12. Oh, I think also, they talk about verticality versus horizontality. My concern there is I would actually argue the opposite. I think it's nicer to have the horizontality that actually squats the building down into the ground rather than the verticality that makes it rise up out of the ground. So I believe the windows that we have there are the right proportions. Pick up the view, access to the water, break down the scale. So So how do I actually formally ask for that to be condition 12 to be removed? Is that?
You just have.
I just have. Thank you very much. Okay. Can I liaise with you now? Can you ask me whether you think that's fair?
We'll either ask you questions that we don't understand what you said or not,
Okay.
or we'll just take on board what you said and make a decision. It's
Right.
not a debate.
It's not a debate. So, okay. Righto. Thanks. I guess, so I mean, overall on that front, apologies. Overall on that front, you can see how hard we've worked with council, but there are some, I mean, we do have some clause 4.6s obviously in there for the technical non-compliance of the height limit. There's
Okay,
no,
let me, because I don't want you to run out of time, and I do want, there's probably two things we need to resolve.
yes,
I suspect two things. One is I need to understand the extent of the breach, not the height of the breach. I get that. I understand what it is.
yep, sure,
But I just want to clarify, and it's just probably a line on the drawing that is not clear.
yes,
And look, if you want
I-
to come, can
I
you come,
present,
yeah, can you come forward? That would be much easier. And I asked the question, so I'll probably pose.
Sure.
So I just wanted your measurement of 10.02. Is that all the way down to there or to there?
no, to there. Yeah, so the height limit there, that's your 9 metre height limit from your
Existing ground.
previous natural ground line, well below. And so the technical non-compliance now is the basement area.
Okay.
To the ground.
So that's fine, because what I couldn't read was that red line going down there to be your 10.2. So I thought you were going to there,
No.
which is why I couldn't work out why that was not also part of the breach. Now I understand it. That's fine by me. Anyone
Excellent.
else want to?
And that is,
I understand.
You understand? Yeah, I couldn't see the red line, so that's clear.
I'm
Sure.
just a bit
and
unclear
there's an
about this.
overlay that I did of the top
Okay.
floor over the
So whilst you're
That's
here,
the only area.
just
Yeah, we
just to clarify for Deborah.
So these lines, it says this, I'm sorry, I just pulled this out. There's
Yeah, it's okay.
condition 12 and consent. And what are these? Is this what you've put in the?
No, this is what the plants have put in at the last minute. So we need to
So
look at the original.
so where your windows are behind there like that? Is that?
No, they were coming all the way to there, and I've got them coming to here.
Can we? Have you got that elevation?
That's right. I have. They've actually raised the window right up to here. So it's kind of crazy, but it also taken away of the
Apologies. Carry on.
Yep, so that was the width there, which comes off the bedroom plan, which I could. Yeah, get over there. No, yeah, absolutely no price.
There's no
issue
openings there.
This is all
Well,
roofs
sorry,
that
there
we're
is, but
looking
it's-
over. Yeah, it's a small.
Yeah.
So yeah, so surely here you want to be able to maximise your views to the river.
Hang on, there's no balcony. That must be an old because there's a balcony. There's no balcony now. So
Balcony off these bedrooms here.
It's here. It's here.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
it.
that's
That's it there,
that
that's the
that's the
handrail,
balcony there.
oh,
handrail
that's
there.
that one. Okay.
Yep. Which is a solid handrail, and that roof goes up. So it's sunk into the roof as well.
You're going to have a glass balustrade here.
No, solid balustrade there because it's sunk into the. So
Yeah, it's sunk into the roof.
Yeah.
Into the roof below.
you'd imagine that you can see that there. So that would be at balustrade height.
Yeah.
And the roof comes in. So you're only seeing that much of the balustrade above it.
Can you just go back to that elevation water
Yeah, sure.
elevation?
That's one.
So
So that's all roof coming up.
That's there.
Yeah.
Because it's set well back.
These are sliding glass windows.
Yes, up to the
So
balcony. Yeah, exactly, mate.
pretty much
Yes.
your head's going to be here.
That's exactly.
Shut up,
Yeah, your
lawyer
feet probably
drawing.
down there. Yeah, exactly.
No sliding straw.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Understood.
So,
Okay.
yeah, honestly, the articulation that and it's set so far back, I really don't know.
Yeah, you will have a look at that.
Thank you.
Whilst you're here, also
Yes.
the easement. We just want to clarify the easement. So, as far as we read this easement diagram here, and Laura,
Yes.
you can clarify. It looks like the there's those photos. You got those photos. It's probably easiest to look at. It looks like the easement for this area here is private.
That's all ours.
Yes,
Yes,
I think that's
absolutely. All
private.
that car parking
So
is
where
all
those
ours.
cars are parked there is actually not part of the easement. Is that correct? No, it's this one.
Yeah, but this is the one that's got all the.
There's 3 car spaces in front of the garage.
So it's there and there and there.
That's it shown on the, that's now shown on our survey, and that's that line there. So this is all part of, like, no easement over any of that car parking spaces there.
That's what we read.
Yeah, and that's the reversing bit, and that will never get blocked,
No, no.
because that's the access.
hang on.
to
So,
that.
so that bit there is got the right of way on it.
Yes, it
yes,
does.
which is
That's
here.
right.
Which is
That's
here.
right,
So you
that's the right of way.
There's ROC in there.
Yep. It's
And
just
that's
not
shown
this bit
on
here.
here, which is, it's just difficult to see that on here.
Yeah, you've got to look at the notations. You
Yeah.
see here, the A and the B.
Oh, yeah.
And you see how that swings around there?
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Can I highlight that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's notation.
Yeah.
So just for clarity for
And that
the
is where
lady,
that
the
skip
lady
was,
who
yeah.
spoke,
Obviously,
was that the cars parked in the photograph, the
Yeah.
3 vehicles, are actually on private property.
Yes, they are.
But the skip
But the
is,
skip is not.
the skip's not.
The skip is
No,
in
the
the right.
skip is not.
Just so we're all on the same page.
The skip's actually, yeah.
Yeah.
This, that you're contracting this job out, I take it. Building contract.
Sorry.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, it would be contracted out.
So, I think in fairness to Ms Singleton's submission, and I understand it, and it's a civil matter between you and your neighbours. I mean, the council doesn't have any involvement as to how the carriageway operates. But clearly, if there's a breach of the covenant, which the 88B instrument sets out the terms of the easement, it's a matter that can be enforced by your neighbours. So, I would suggest that in the interest of this build going along smoothly, that you get a handle on what the builder's doing, so the tradies don't put all their stuff everywhere over the carriageway, which then would have an effect on their free and
Which is fine.
Well,
ingress and egress from
We can do that.
number
That's perfect.
40.
Yeah,
We've also got the large garage that is able during building to be able to be used for storing materials and stuff like that. So I think that can be managed.
Well, I think you need to make sure it's managed, because the council doesn't, because what will happen is the complaint will come into the council doesn't have the resources to go in there and police your bill. So it's important that you keep a handle on it. All right?
Yep. Hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any other questions unless you do, Deborah.
sorry, I just said that on the materials drawing, the drawing
Yes.
that was obviously an earlier version of the plan. So that the top floor, just remind me what you're going to finish. It's just going to be paint finish to
It'll
match.
just be a paint finish.
Match the
Yeah,
rest of it.
it'll be an acrylic render that matches the rest of the house, all tied in. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. The landscaping ratio, would you like me to address that? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
So we'll now move on to, oh yes, Nicole, if you could bring the camera back. So the next item we have is 31 Ocean Street, Penshurst. So I have Dave Moody via Teams. If we can, is that Dave on the screen already? It is, fantastic.
Correct.
The floor is yours. What do you want to say to us?
I was just making myself available in case the panel had any questions. I can keep it very short. We agree with the recommendation and we're hoping for an approval.
I love it when it's short and sweet like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Panel, any questions? Deborah, I think.
I think it was a condition on to have changed the glass to obscure. Can you just, what do you see clear or obscure?
What was that question? Sorry, it cut
In
out.
terms of the treatment of the glazing, clear or obscure, as a preference?
The residents would prefer clear. I'm not aware of any privacy concerns that were raised throughout the report. So if we can remain with the schedule of materials that were proposed at the start of the project, that'd be appreciated. I apologise, I've lost audio again, I think.
No, we're whispering.
Oh, my apologies.
Sorry, we were just trying to see whether we understood that there might have been a condition of consent that changed the glazing, and we're looking for it hurriedly. Councillor, if you could assist if there is any. No, there isn't any. Okay.
There's a recommendation by the designer.
But you haven't. Thank you. That's all we need to clarify. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. No, that's fine. It's just, it wasn't being picked up. Thank you very much. Panel, any other questions, queries? Okay, thank you. We will deliberate on this.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
The next speaker I have is Gillian Snade in relation to 2 to 10. Actually, it's not the next one on the agenda, is it? So I'll go to the next one on the agenda rather than the speakers. My apologies there. So the next one we have is 2 to 12 Lime Kiln Road. And I don't have any speakers on that matter. So we will move from that item to the next item, which is 198 to 200 Princess Highway, Kogarah. And I don't have any speakers on that item. So now I will come to 2 to 10 Palmerston Street, Kogarah. And I do have 2 speakers, the first one of which is Gillian Snade via Teams. Gillian, are you there? You are. Fantastic.
Hi.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, panel. I too had hoped today that I was going to say we support the recommendation and are happy with that. Unfortunately, there's a minor amendment. So the modification that's before you relates only to car parking. The development was the subject of, this is the third modification, unfortunately. The second modification saw some conditions imposed on that relating to the allocation of car parking that made it actually difficult for us to achieve what we needed to. So the basic principle is that the development requires 51 resident car parking spaces. We actually provide 55. So we've asked for condition 79 to be amended to say, corrected to say 55 instead of 54. So it's clear that 55 resident spaces are there. The parking that was in addition, the 4 spaces that are in addition, were counted in FSR. And the modification 2 had a condition imposed, which was 82F, that each residential unit must be allocated with at least 1 car parking space. Now, we've got an equal number in this development of 1 and 3 bedroom units, both being 7. By allocating 1 car parking space to each 1 bedroom unit, we're ending up with an over allocation to the 1 bedders and an under allocation for the 3 bedders, because as you would appreciate, the 1 bedders require 0.6 of a space and the 3 bedders 1.4. The way we have asked for the condition to be modified is that no more than that at least 1 space be allocated to each 2 and 3 bedroom unit, but no more than 2 at the allocation required by the actual sales. What council have done in amending condition 82F is said that each 3 bedroom unit must be allocated with at least 2 car parking spaces. On that basis, we need an additional, that gives us 58 spaces and we've only got 55. So we'd ask either that the condition be amended back to the way that we'd requested, or that it be at least reworded so that each 2 and 3 bedroom unit must be allocated with at least 1 car parking space, and that the other spaces can be allocated as per need. Okay. I appreciate that none of this might make any sense to you.
No, it does make sense, and I understand what you're saying, but I just want to clarify I've got the numbers. So you're requesting that the 82F be amended such that it reads that each 2 and 3 bedroom unit must have at least 1 parking space allocated, is your request?
Yes.
Because,
so,
yeah.
It's actually slightly more complicated than that, because 4 of our spaces are in fact stacked. So by their very nature, and the way that we drafted it up, the original request for the modification of 82F was to ensure that those 4 stacked spaces were allocated to the 1 unit. Now, those additional 4 spaces are in effect surplus to need, so they could be allocated to a 2-bedroom unit if there was a particular demand for 2 car parking spaces when it's marketed. So, you know, the way the condition was, yes, the way the conditions were worded originally was that at least those stack spaces are allocated to the 1 unit, and there's no conflict within those.
So that could stay as is. So all we'd be in your request would be saying that each 2 and 3 bedroom unit be allocated at least 1 parking space. Each stack space in the basement be allocated to the same unit / strata title.
Yes, that would do it.
Yeah, okay, that's your request. Thank you. Yes. And in relation to, hold on, the other issue you were raising, which was the parking spaces, you wanted to ensure that it was 55?
Yes, so 79 is correct.
79 is correct. Got it. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. All right.
It's just the second sentence of 82F.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have one question. Sorry, the lady's name is?
Gillian.
Hello, Gillian. I'm wondering if you could just tell me, are you progressing with the strata plan after this, obviously?
Strata plan has already been approved, as I understand.
Well, okay, so I'm just reading what the proposed development's about. I can't see that it's including strata subdivision. I'll just see clarification from council officers. Is that correct?
I can clarify. The strata plan was issued prior to the 5-year as compliant development.
Right. Okay.
Because this is a multi-sort.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the strata has been, because I'm wondering how the car parking has been allocated in the strata plan.
It hasn't as yet in the strata plan. They're all car parking spaces yet to be allocated, but they'll need to be allocated in accordance with this condition.
So there'll be a bylaw or something.
Yeah. It's clearly the intent that all car parking be associated with the development. It's not that it's going to be sold off independently or anything like that. It's more about ensuring that the premise of providing 1 car parking space for each unit resulted in what would have been 4 spaces for the 1-bedders being 7, and an under provision for the 3 bedrooms. And there's certainly some affordability things in that, if somebody doesn't want a car parking space, for example, then it can be allocated to somewhere else within the building to somebody who might want it, and eliminate on-street parking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I think. Oh no.
Sorry, just to clarify. So under the relevant parking requirements, I think the 2-bed was 0.9 spaces.
That's right.
I think the 1-bed or studio was something like 0.2 or something. So
0.6 of a space.
So that's where that argument comes. That if you give them 1 each, they're over providing. 2 would be about right with 1 space. What was the requirement for 3-bed?
1.4.
So still okay. So it could be slightly under providing if you give them 1. Okay.
Yes.
So
but
if in my maths, then if everyone could have 1 space, but if you wanted to give the 3-bed or the 2-bed 2 spaces, it meant that some of the 1-beds would not get a space.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
If I can just, if it's of any assistance, I provided a request for further information dated 19th December, which provided a whole series of scenarios showing, what the effect is of the different conditions and the requirements of the for parking under the guide to traffic generating developments.
Thank you. I think that's clear. Now we have Andrew Nicole. Does he wish to speak? Is he with you?
He's with me, and hopefully I've got it all right.
Yes, no, you definitely have it all correct. I have nothing more to add. I think it was very concise, Gillian. Unless the panel has any questions for me, I have nothing to add.
I don't have any questions. Anyone else? No. that was it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is our last item, isn't it? Okay, on that basis, I will close the meeting at 4:34.